Okay, well, I have 6 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6. Let's see here. And I will need a motion to adopt the agenda.
This is Bob. I move to adopt the agenda.
Hello, can we get a second? Wait a minute. You guys got to get your microphones off.
This is Pat. I'll second.
All right. Does everybody have their microphone off? Steve, you need to get your microphone off. On.
They want to be unmuted.
Yeah, well, Stephen, Ray, you need to get your microphone unmuted. Okay. He's working on it. And Chad still has not joined us, so. Okay. What the heck? There we go.
Hey, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, thanks. Sorry about that.
Okay, so then I have a Bob motioned, Pat second, so we need to all in favor. So I need Stephen, yes?
Aye.
Okay. And then myself, yes, so that is going to be motion passes 4-0 until Chad joins us. Okay. Go ahead and do the pledge. You guys all need to unmute your things, I think. All right. Are you ready? Oh, Chad, you joined us. And you'll need to get your microphone on. Chad. There you go.
There we go.
Okay, let's go ahead and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, perfect. So now we need approval of the meeting minutes.
This is Pat. I make a motion to approve the minute.
Okay.
This is Bob. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? I'll need
Roll call.
yeah, Stephen.
Aye.
Okay, Chad.
Aye.
Myself is aye, so motion carries 5-0. All right, so we have superintendent report.
Thank you, Shelley. Before we get started, just know that this meeting is going to be run just slightly different than the last meeting because Craig is actually running the meeting in another room, so you can see the board agenda up. If you would like Craig to, when we get to a specific agenda item, to open up something, then we just need to let him know. So, for example, for the superintendent's report, I will have some additional information. But the first thing that we're going to do is I wanted to share with the board and any of the community that's watching a couple different videos that were made as part of teacher appreciation. So I'll ask Craig. He's going to have to take us out of this and put us into a couple YouTube videos. So Craig, go ahead and do that, and then we'll go ahead and share that.
Thank you, Missy and Miss Allison. I hope you're having a good time at your house. And thank you for everything you do. Thank you for reading us books. Thank you for throwing us parties. And thank you for everything you do.
I give a big thank you to all the teachers who have inspired me to be who I am and become the person I am today. But I'll give a special shout out to all my teachers that made this year amazing. Mrs. Wooten, Mr. Wooten, Coach Miller, Mr. Heffley, Mr. Robbins, Brother Magleby, both Coach Johnsons, Coach Larson, Coach Vignes, Coach Reese, and Coach JT. Thank you, and go Coyotes.
Thank you, Mr. John. Hope I see you next school year. Miss you. Hi, Miss Snyder. Thank you for everything you have done. I'm very thankful for you. Happy Teacher Appreciation Day. Thank you, Miss Tibbin, for being my teacher and helping me through this year. And I love you. Thank you, Miss Destries. I'm so sorry I don't get to spend the rest of the school with you. You taught me so much. Happy Appreciation Week. Hi, Miss Cox. Thank you for being such a great teacher. Happy Teacher Appreciation Day.
I just want to say thank you to all my teachers for all the support. Go Hoosiers.
Hi, Miss Allison and Miss C. Thank you for teaching me about the butterfly in math and science. Bye. Miss McClure, you are the best teacher ever. You help me with my work and you motivate me to be my best. I'm lucky to have you to be my teacher. Hi, Mrs. Cook. You are a wonderful teacher and I miss being in your class. And I'll see you at the celebrate. Bye.
Say, miss you.
Miss you.
And turn around so I can see it. Can't wait to see you next year.
Can't wait to see you next year.
Okay, wave bye.
Bye. Hi, Mrs. Wire. Hi, Mrs. Hartz. And hi, Mrs. Hall. I love school, but it doesn't feel like school. It smells like school. I'm not sitting at school. And I'm not really at school. I just don't like when I'm at home all of this. So I just want to be at school.
This thank you is going out to the staff at Combs Middle School. What an amazing group of teachers. Thank you every day for your hard work and commitment. Happy Teachers Appreciation Week.
Okay, now Craig will switch over to another short video, and then we'll come back to the meeting. This one's about 3 minutes.
In times of crisis, there are heroes who merge on the front lines. COVID-19 has brought to light the amazing work of healthcare professionals, emergency responders, grocery clerks, and truck delivery drivers. However, there are also many quiet heroes who do amazing work out of the limelight. You, public educators, are examples of these unsung heroes. Tuesday, May 5th, 2020 is Arizona Teacher Appreciation Day, and a chance to give a special thank you to not only our teachers, but all educators. When schools closed, the directive was to merely provide online instruction. The seemingly simple request was not so simple. This meant you spent countless hours on webinars learning how to rapidly transform lessons into remote learning, become proficient in new software programs, and remotely teach and meet with your students during office hours. You worked hard to ensure students with disabilities still receive the same education as their peers. Quietly, like any other normal school year, you put into 10 to 12-hour days. You did this because you care about your students. Teachers, principals, and school personnel have made extraordinary attempts to reach out to students and families. You've adopted the mantra, although physically distant, we will stay connected. You creatively held neighborhood parades and virtual spirit weeks, making literal house calls and phone calls to check in on students and families. You did this because of your love for your students. Our food service teams continue to feed children who do not have access to meals. They don't ask if they attend our district, but simply strive to fill their most fundamental needs. They do this because they care about the needs of the children in our community. All of us are experiencing significant levels of stress and anxiety during this crisis. School counselors and social workers are reaching out to families to provide help in the area of mental health. They're working with students and providing resources for parents to help them talk to their children during this difficult time. They do this because they care about the mental health and wellness of our families. Our technology department has worked to support families without access to computers or the internet. Distributing laptops for students and creating Wi-Fi hotspots, they've ensured remote learning was possible for everyone. They continue to address educational equity gaps and the digital divide because they care about our students. What is evident is that the K-12 public school system, and especially our Combs family, provide the fabric that binds our communities together. You provide so much in good times and bad. And as we continue to navigate this crisis alongside the heroes putting lives at risk every day, let us also remember to thank those quiet, unsung heroes just like you. We thank you for going above and beyond to help our children, for caring, and for showing grace during these difficult times. We care about you, we appreciate you, and we thank you for all you do for our students.
Okay, I just wanted to start the superintendent's report with that little reminder about why we're here and what we're doing. I know these are unprecedented times, and it's been an amazing job by our staff, by our teachers, by food service, by everybody. It's kind of coming to a close. So some of the things I want to just remind you, this is the last real week for work, for kids to turn in work. Final grades are due next Tuesday, the 19th. I will let you know that we are tracking the number of students how they participated in classes, how many did all their assignments or didn't do any of their assignments. It appears based on an initial report that we've had very good participation with the kids, but we'll have a detailed report in June. But I would say the kids that didn't do any work at the elementary schools would be 5% or less. At the middle and high school, it's slightly higher, but it appears it'll be down 10 to 12%, but I'll get you the specifics. And I know there's lots of concerns about grading, but our teachers are demonstrating grace as they come up with grades. We're trying to take a look at individual situations. Again, this is brand new for all of us, and we're working our way through that. You heard a little bit about food service, but just so you know, in food service, as of today, we are just short of 60,000 meals that we provided since the beginning of March. Just so you're aware, at this point in time, we anticipate to continue the feeding program through the end of June, and then we will take a little bit of a break, give those people a little bit of a break, and then come back in the middle of July and start up again as we get ready for the school year. Next week, we'll begin the graduation process, and so we will have the virtual graduation next Tuesday. There'll be a graduate parade from 6:30 to 7. The kids will be lined up with 6 feet social distancing around the parking lot there by the football field, and people will enter the parking lot from the west end on Germain, go the big U honking and cheering for all the different students, and then when they exit, they'll exit to the right and have to go around the block, so to speak, to leave. And then at 8 o'clock that night, we'll go ahead and show the video that's been made for graduation. It's very similar to the videos that are being made for all the other different schools that are doing virtual graduations. There is no role for the board in that case. You're more than welcome to come and be part of the parade and see the kids, but there is no technical role for board members. Then on Tuesday, June 9th, we will have the in-person graduation ceremony. There will be an opportunity for you during that ceremony. So please let myself or Mary Lou know if you plan to be at that meeting, at that ceremony, so we can go ahead and plan accordingly. We will give you more details. To be totally honest, right now, we're trying to get through the end of the school year and the virtual graduation, and then we'll start to put the details together and finalize things and communicate to kids and parents what the expectations are. Right now, it is for kids only. But over the next 3 weeks, that may change, especially in light of what the governor may or may not do regarding social distancing. So we want to let you know about that. In terms of the technology, just a little update. We basically gave out just short of 500 devices to kids. And those were really 2 sets of kids. Those that did not have a device was the initial push. And then after that, it became a lot of situations where there were multiple kids in the family. And so we came up with a system that said if you had 2 or fewer kids in the family, you would get 1 device. If you had 3 or 4 kids in the family, you would get 2 devices. And if you had more than 5 kids in the family, you would get 3 devices. And so we gave out, like I said, just short of 500 devices. We will be collecting those devices back next week is the plan to get them back. I also want to make you aware that we were notified just this week that we received as a district the Healthy Arizona Worksite Gold Award. Last year we received the Silver Award. This award recognizes businesses that are making efforts to positively affect the health and well-being of their employees, their families, and their community through evidence-based worksite health initiatives and promising programs. I want to thank the District Wellness Committee under the leadership of Dr. Duplessis for the work in this area. They're the ones that are directly responsible for the district winning that award. So that's, and the last thing I have is we are looking for a special meeting for the board on Wednesday, May 27th, same time, with the governor's executive order ending as of Friday. That meeting can be in person, but also if you don't feel comfortable and want to call in, we'll have that set up also. We will be slowly starting to bring people back to work relative to the district office and some of the front offices. But please know, at least for the next couple months, there will be a situation where if people are not feeling comfortable with coming back to work because they may have a compromised immune system or taking care of elderly parents or something, then all the opportunities that we need, we will provide, same as we're providing right now. We can have a discussion over the next, between now and the next board meeting. Is that going to take place at the district office? Again, even if it does, we would have the calling capabilities. The other pieces that we need to talk about with the board. So we have a special meeting on the 27th is the plan. So let me know if that will work for you. We would have our normal board meeting on, I believe it's June 10th. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but I believe that's what Wednesday is. And then we were scheduled to have a retreat on Monday the 15th. And so Ms. Hargis and I are talking about that. And so that one may still be back on. It was off for a while based on the executive order. Now that that's changing, the one thing that will be different is we would go ahead and hold that meeting on the 15th here at the district office in the boardroom, not necessarily at Encanterra, just because we have the facility that we haven't had in the past. So just a couple reminders of some things that are upcoming over the next month and a half. That's all I have.
Dr. Wyman, this is Shelley. I have one question. Since we're doing both graduations, when will the graduates actually receive their diplomas?
The official graduation is the virtual graduation. The in-person graduation is voluntary. So they will get their diplomas next Tuesday. And that way, if they have a commitment to something in June and they can't make the in-person, or they don't feel comfortable coming to a bigger crowd, if we were to invite 2 guests, as an example, with each graduate, if you put 300 graduates, that means you're going to have about 1,000 people at the stadium. And so some people may not feel comfortable and may not want to come. And that's why we will give the official diploma and the official ceremony on the 19th. And the second one will be more of a recognition and a chance for the class to get back together one more time before they leave.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on that? Okay. So we go to the governing board members. Do you guys have anything to report?
Nope.
Okay. Mary Lou, do we have any public comments?
Madam President, I just checked the online spreadsheet and there are no citizens' comments.
All right. So we'll need any questions on the consent agenda? None?
Nope.
No question.
You do? Okay. All right, let's go ahead and then I'll need a motion.
I move, this is Bob. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay. Second? Anybody want a second?
I second this, Pat.
Pat will second. So I need to do roll call. Stephen,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
myself is I, so we will pass that with 5-0. So now we have action items. I need 8.1, discussion and consideration of adoption of the 2019-20 revised budget.
Madam President, this is Carla Slavitsky. I'm recommending that we adopt the 2019-20 revised budget. We have several times up until May 15th to do this revision. That has been extended by the Auditor General's office in the last week, and we have up until June 30th to revise our 2019-2020 budget. I don't anticipate having to come back next month with a revision, but it's out there just in case. We did have an increase in student enrollment from what I projected on the initial adopted budget. So the increase in M&O was 180,000. We did have extra carryover than what I had anticipated in interest. And also there was some student enrollment increases that happened in the past year because of for district additional assistance. So we had an increase of 269,000. The 180,000 that went into the M&O budget has strictly been used for the minimum wage increase and the 35 cents that all support staff received. And then the initial, the 269,000 that's in DAA, I actually put that in a line item for capital renovations. I know there's a lot of renovations that are happening throughout the district. We don't anticipate using any of our own capital money, but just in case. Are there any questions?
No questions?
I do want to make one comment. After this is approved, I will be sending an email through DocuSign that is the cover sheet for this budget that you will have to sign.
Okay, so we're signing all this through DocuSign?
Yes.
And so will my copy have more?
No, you're just going to have the cover sheet.
Okay. All right. Any questions? All right, I'll need a motion.
This is Bob. I'd like to move to that the governing board adopt the 2019-2020 revised budget as just presented.
Second?
This is Chad. I second it.
Okay, so I'll take a roll call. Stephen?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Myself is I, so motion will carry 5-0.
Thank you.
8.2, discussion and consideration of approval of food service breakfast and lunch program 20-21 fee schedule.
Yes, Madam President, this is Dr. Wyman. We're required to bring you the fee schedule every single year. That fee schedule is determined by ADE as part of a formula at the state level, and based on that formula, there's no recommended changes to the fee schedule. So the breakfast and lunch program will remain the same as it was this year. So I recommend approval of the new fee schedule as presented.
Okay, any questions?
No.
Nope. All right, I'll need a motion.
I move to approve the food service fee schedule as presented.
Okay, that's Steve. I need a second.
I'll second. This is Bob.
Okay, roll call. Chad?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Mine is an I, so motion carries 5-0. Right. 8.3, discussion and consideration of Arizona School Board Association Delegate Assembly / political agenda submission of the proposed issues. Did we went over this already, did we not?
I don't believe we have. You guys have had it for a while. I don't know how much we've talked about it. Last year, Stephen was the candidate. The piece that's here is you just have to decide if there's any. I believe you've had a chance to review what the political agenda is. In some cases, boards may have something that's not on the political agenda that they want on. So if there's a motion, I'm going to give you an example. In another district I was at, consistently, one of the board members wanted to change the age for students to get driver's licenses as a way to keep them in school. So no matter what the ASBA agenda was, every year they would vote as to whether they wanted to try to get that on the ASBA agenda. So if there's something in particular that a board member wants, you would make the motion to accept the political agenda with this proposal, and then you'd have to get your vote, at least 3 members of the board, to vote in favor of supporting that. If you don't have anything new, then you just vote to support the political agenda as presented. And if Stephen's going to be the candidate again, then the delegate, then you would vote, or you would recommend he be the candidate. If someone else wants to be the delegate, you would put in a motion for who that person would be. And then when they do it at the law conference in September, they will vote for the agenda in support of everybody else and what your direction was.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
Oh, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Oh, so I noticed that in the documentation that there was in that form that we could fill out, that there was a few items already filled in. I was just curious, did you fill those in, or were those thoughts that you had, or?
And if you're talking about what's in the board agenda?
Yeah,
right,
the one
now.
that's issues for legislative committee consideration.
Craig, can you pop open that there you go. Is this what you're talking about?
So that was last year's of 2019.
Yeah, this is I mean, this is what the ASBA already sent out. I even got some in the mail with this, but the other one that looks like the form.
Chad, if you look at the date up at the top, it says May 8th, 2019. So all that is last year's priorities put onto this year's form.
Oh, I see. So that was some of the ideas that we put on last year.
Right, and so if you would like to continue that with those ideas, if there's one that you like to move forward with, then this is where, when you made the motion, for example, there's one here that says acceleration of DAA funds. You could make a motion for acceleration of DAA funds. Craig, you can go out of this and back into the regular one. This is an executive content, and so it's not available. And so that's how you would make the motion. If there was something of those ones that you did last year that you're interested for this year, then you would just put that in the motion.
So do you guys have anything that you want to take out of here, or insert? What are you guys thinking?
I would recommend keeping it the same. That's my recommendation.
I agree. And when I look at the ASBA 4 priorities, ours link pretty well with them, with maybe a few minor exceptions, but I would like to keep ours as the same for 2020.
Chad, what were you thinking?
The ones on the sheet look fine. I actually had more of a question on one of the 4 that the ASBA had. Maybe just for discussion or just for thought, but when we say that school boards have as one of their goals is, what was the one? It was about increasing achievement. How was that one articulated? I'm not looking at it here. See if I can see it real quick.
So if it's coming off ASBA's document, just for information, just understand this is a compilation of ideas from across the state, and they tend to be very, I'll say, more broad-based. And what it is used for is that you then look to, when the legislative session starts next January, then this informs ASBA of where they're going to lobby for which particular bills that are dropped by a particular legislature. And so if a legislator came up with a bill and it really didn't fit in any one of the categories here, then they would move it away. So if you have student achievement or something like that, if there was a bill that was dropped relative to state testing or something like that, then they would sit and say, okay, that's within what our political agenda is. So we're either going to advocate for or against, depending on what the conversation is regarding that. So that's how this works, just for your information.
So it's not necessarily goals by the ASBA that each school board tries to essentially kind of work towards as kind of part of their political priorities or goals. That's what it is. Improve outcomes for all students. That's the issue.
Right, and that's just a very high level issue that school boards across the state would say, we believe that's important. And now if there's any bills that come down that are either supportive of that or against that, then they would go ahead, the lobby group, the lobbyists for ASBA would then take a stand for or against based on this approval. That's why once you approve this, they will, the legislative committee for ASBA will put this all together in what the new political agenda will be for 21. And then that's where the delegate votes to support or not support the agenda. If they get a majority vote of supporting the agenda, then that'll drive whatever they do at the legislative session next spring.
And also on the ASBA document, this is Bob, improve outcomes for all students. You can see there's, I think, about 8 bullet points under it. So those are just, again, areas that ASBA is going to focus on based upon the input that all of our school districts across the state gave to them last year.
I see.
Okay.
Then I have one question on the priorities from last year that we were going to approve for this year. Number 4, no expansion of empowerment scholarship accounts.
Okay, so
I am familiar with those with the empowerment account. Oh, go ahead, Greg.
I was just going to say that the piece that comes in there as a general statement, I'll just kind of bring it from the perspective of I'll just say public education. I understand the nuance of charters and all that stuff, but the concern for many school districts is the empowerment scholarship dollars that go to private, public dollars to private is something that generally speaking people are against. And so they're already in statute, but the goal is to not allow them to expand into more and more different groups of students. And if you remember a couple years ago, they were looking to expand it across the state for all kids. And that's what this is about, is trying to keep it reined into where it's at and not let it expand.
I see what you're saying. Because as it is right now, it's only for a limited population group of kids.
Right, but
certain
it's
conditions.
Right, but every year they try to expand it just a little bit. And so therefore the ASBA is trying to say, no, we don't want any expansion whatsoever. Just keep it where it's at with the groups that are available to it right now.
I get you. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Pat, did you have any ideas or comments on this?
I was fine with it. Keeping it the same sounded good to me.
Okay. All right then. So all we need, and what about Stephen? Stephen, are you still willing to be our delegate?
Yeah, it was kind of fun going to that, delegate party. It was very interesting. I learned a lot, and you would have thought we were, I don't know. It was good. I enjoyed it a lot. I'll be happy to go, but if someone else wants to go, they can do it. But I enjoyed it very much.
Okay, well then we will, unless somebody else wants to, we'll keep you the same.
But if there's good brownies, you better bring me back one. Sneak it out.
I will.
Okay, so we'll need to make a motion for this, keeping it as is and keeping Mr. Ray as our delegate.
Do we need one motion or two for that?
You can make it in one.
I think we can make it in one, yeah.
So I'd like to move that we approve the 2020 political agenda and approve that for 2021, keep it the same, and also to approve Mr. Stephen Ray as a district's representative for the delegate assembly.
I think we're doing it for just 20, not 21.
I thought it was 21 on the submission form.
Well, oh yeah, it does say 21. Okay, you're right.
And that's because the session starts in January. So in January 21 is the session.
Right.
Okay. All right. I'll need a second.
This is Chad.
Pat.
No.
Pat, let's go ahead and do you as the second.
Okay.
And then I'll take roll call. Stephen,
Aye. Chad,
Aye.
and then I. So motion carries 5-0. All right. So now we're at 8.4, discussion and consideration of approval of classroom renovations at Combs Traditional Academy.
Okay, the next several agenda items are all related to the conversation that we had, the presentation we had back in February about the work that we were going to do at CTA. Go ahead and start to fix up the facilities. It's part of a grander master plan relative to all of our sites. And so this is just the first of several items. And in this particular case, our decision is to use what's called a JOC contract with McCarthy under the 1 GPA contract. We're utilizing that because McCarthy has done work before for us, and we've been satisfied with the work. And by having the 1 GPA contract, we can move on it immediately. What this is renovation of the old district office. And so that renovation will be for classroom space for the new alternative schools and the Arizona Online program. We will also renovate some of the old buildings for additional classroom space for CTA within the work. And so this would be a place or a situation where we would be positioned to go ahead and start up our alternative schools and our AOI starting in July, as well as provide additional space for Mr. Green to go ahead and increase the number of students that are attending CTA. So I would recommend approval as presented.
Any questions?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. I'll need a motion.
This is Chad. I move to approve the jail Combs or the JOC contract with McCarthy Building Company under the 1 GPA contract in the amount listed for renovations to classrooms on the CTA campus.
This is Bob, I'll second.
Okay. So Pat?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Mine's an aye, so motion carries 5-0. So 8.5.
Okay, this particular item takes on the next step of what we're doing down at CTA. So it's actually two parts to it. The first part is it'll be with ACE asphalt, and what we're using is adjacent ways, and for the most part, adjacent ways dollars. And adjacent ways dollars are covered under statute, and they talk about ingress and egress from campuses or from property, school district property. It speaks to fire lane emergency access, and so what we're planning to do is in the front of the school, we want to go ahead and fix up and actually create a bus drop-off loop. And so what will happen is the buses would come in off of Gansel, go around where the parent drop-off is, and then take a right in what would be going to the old district office parking lot. The kids would get off the bus in between what's the old district parking lot and the CTA parking lot. After the kids get off, the bus will go do a turnaround in what was the old district parking lot and come back out, take a right, and then come out to Gansel and take a right again. So we think it's a more safe drop-off for the kids. We take some of the buses out of the area where the parents are dropping off to even help the congestion more out front. We're going to go ahead and pave the area, the back fire lane that goes behind the property. You enter right by the Head Start building and go all the way around the field space and come back out. So it's from Combs all the way over to Gansel. And what we will do when we go ahead and pave that area, we'll also create some retention back there, and we'll create a teacher parking lot and potentially a kid parking lot for the high school, alternative school kids could park back there. And then this way we create a less congestion in the front of the school. And we're able to go ahead and make things just work a little bit better on that campus. And so that's for all the asphalt work. There is a piece that we threw some contingency in here. We will also go ahead and connect the sidewalk that right now is kind of in front of the old DO on Gansel. There's a space between the exit from CTA all the way to right where Encantera starts on the other end of our property. And so we would go ahead and connect that with the sidewalk and with ADA compliant ramps. The reason those dollars are not set in stone yet is we have to go through Pinal County for approval because it's their property. Even though Queen Creek has annexed Encantera, they did not annex our property. And so we will have to go to Pinal County, and we have not had a chance to get that through Pinal County. We would anticipate that will happen. And so then we're starting to make a connection and getting to, Bob, to your concerns about what the front of the property looks like at CTA. So that's kind of the plan. And so I would recommend approval as presented.
Any questions on this? I know we covered this on one of our last board meeting that we did in person. So
yeah, I do have a question. Greg, when we're talking about traveling east on Combs and then turning right into the Head Start area and that being paved, and then you said it was going to turn right again to connect with the CTA parking lot in the front. Is that what I heard?
No. What it does is it goes back behind and kind of loops all the way to Gansel. What we're going to do is create a teacher parking lot in the back, along with a parking lot for the kids in alt schools. So we'll actually take a bunch of the cars out of the front parking lot and have the staff at CTA park in the back, and that will decrease the congestion out front and make it safer for the kids.
Oh,
so
no, I understand that part. I'm trying to figure out how it loops around back to Gansel, where that occurs.
It occurs on there's that field back there. So
Yes.
It goes past the field and then comes up the field and comes out right where the sidewalk ends on Encantera right now. There's a gate that opens up for us, and it'll come right out of that gate.
Hey,
to the old transportation.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Yep, the old transportation.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. So does adjacent ways impact tax, the tax rate at all?
It does, but we have, and Carla, you can jump in here and explain some more, but the gist of it is we have a healthy reserve in our adjacent ways. And so in this particular situation, we would go ahead and using the reserve. Carla, if you can explain how we've done adjacent ways in this district, because I'm not sure I know all of the particulars, if it's an automatic that we do every year and have for the past.
The adjacent ways that we have currently is money that was levied, probably back in 2009, 10. It was when we were originally going to build the transportation facility, and we levied probably $2 million at that time. And then obviously the transportation facility didn't happen. Back then, we did get the transportation facility built. We used some of the adjacent ways. This is the remainder of what's still available.
Okay.
Okay. Good question. All right. I'll need a motion.
All right. This is Stephen. I move to approve the renovations, ingress and egress from Combs Nutritional Academy as presented.
Second.
This is Bob. I'll second.
All right. I will take roll call. Pat.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
And myself is aye. So motion carries 5-0. 8.6. Fencing.
Continuation, this will include fencing. We will put a rollaway gate on what is now the entrance from the old district office to Combs Road. That will provide safety for the bus turnaround. We'll replace all the fencing starting from that wall all the way across in front of the CTA, and then down and in front of the fields. And we'll put another gate to the area I was just describing for Bob. That'll be decorative fencing. It will mirror what's the type of fencing that we have in front of the old DO. We will take the existing fence that we're going to remove, and we'll put it in the interior portion of the campus to go ahead and make sure there's a barrier between the alternative school and the kids for CTA. And we're also going to use some of the fencing to create a space for the preschool kids so that they can have a playground area with some grass. And so that's this particular project. We had 2 bids, and Phoenix Fence was the lower of the 2 bids, so we recommend approval as presented.
Any questions on that?
Yes, I have a question. Greg, back in February, you provided us with a spreadsheet with costs, and there was fencing option 1, fencing modified, and fencing option 3. And they talked about, different configurations of the fencing. Were one of those selected, or was this a 4th option?
No, I believe one of those were selected. Rich, if you can refresh my memory, I can't remember which one of the 3 options it was. It's the one, though, that has some, it's not just fencing, it's also got a wall or at least pillars to break it up. Rich or Stephen, can you help us out with this one?
Steve, go ahead if you can.
Okay, Rich. Thank you. Hi, members of the governing board. Thank you for having me. We looked at all the options, and we were originally looking at kind of that combination, Bob, of the masonry with the big fence, but coming out way too high. And so what we ended up doing is a standard black picket from the south end of the property at Encanterra all the way back in, and then continuation along on the interior, and also where the new bus loop is going to be. And we had 2 bids on this. One bid was $196,000. The other bid was $105,000. And looking at the 2 and everything that we evaluated, this was well under the initial budget that we had at $161,000. And we believe that the looks will be exactly what you're looking for.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, so we'll need a motion.
All right, I move to approve the fencing replacement at Combs Traditional Academy as presented.
Second?
This is Bob. I second.
All right, roll call. Pat?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Mine is an aye, so motion carries 5-0. 8.7, the marquee at the academy.
This marquee will be placed out in the front of the property, a little bit further out from the current one. It will not be a pedestal one, meaning it won't go up. It'll be more of a monument sign, but it'll be a traditional marquee. It will have a fairly large screen that you could go ahead and show those videos we just showed earlier today. I mean, that's the quality of the screen. It will be a marquee that is really a joint effort between the district and CTA, so it will share information about CTA, but it will also share information about the district, and it will give us a very good physical presence on Gansel as cars are going in either direction, and so we think that'll be a benefit for the district. The not to exceed 45 is there because the cost is approximately $34,000 for the marquee, but there is some tax, and then there's some work we need to do to make sure that we have the proper electrical there, and so those are some of the pieces that we're still trying to pin down the numbers. If you approve it tonight, we should have it in place by the start of school. And so that's why we went a little bit slightly higher on the not to exceed. I don't believe we'll get ourselves all the way up there, but we wanted to give some latitude. But so this is an all-in for the marquee, plus any of the additional conduit wiring, trenching, and all that kind of work that we need to bring so it becomes live. So I'd recommend approval as presented.
So, Greg, when you say that it's like, is it gonna be higher than the one that's there?
No, that would be a pedestal one, and that pedestal one can't go any higher than where it's at because of the overhead lines. And so what this one will be more of a monument sign in the sense that it'll have a flat base, and within the base, you go up a little bit, and you'll have the actual sign that's there. So it will look good, and it'll be a good physical presence. But we just can't go any higher because those electrical lines are pretty well charged. And you can, as I think Rich could tell you, when you get up on a ladder, get too high, you can actually feel the electrical coming off those lines. So we're having to keep it lower, but it will look very, very nice and give us a good presentation on Gansel.
Okay.
If I could just, who was that?
That was
Steve,
Steve.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, without a picture, I can't see the, is the fencing going to block the view of the sign at all?
No, because this will go between the entrance and the exit of the main parking lot in front of CTA, and the signage is up more towards the building itself, and so people can come in, park, but they can't get on the campus because the fencing's there. The other fencing, when it comes out to the entrance, then goes along our current property where there's a chain link fence over to Encantera. So there will have no impact on sightlines at all.
Okay.
This is Bob. If I could just make a comment, since we're doing a marquee sign and not a pedestal, plant very low growing bushes in front of the marquee, because in Encantera, we have marquee and they planted bushes that cover it and you can't read any of the signage. So just a caution.
We will do that. Thank you.
Stephen, did you have another question? Chad?
I was just going to say, I'm excited about this. This is something I've been asking about for a while, thinking that we really need to improve our district's presence there, and that something amazing would be very helpful and a good thing. So I'm excited for this, and I trust Greg's judgment that he says it's going to be awesome. So I trust you, Greg.
Thanks.
I don't know if any, this is Bob. I'm not sure if you kept the pictures that were given to us. I think it was back at the February board meeting. I kept mine in file and I just pulled them out to look at as we're discussing that. And I got to tell you, the pictures look fantastic.
Right. Some just so you're aware, some of the we're looking at a logo change for CTA, and so there will be some changes within the logo stuff, but the actual design of the marquee will be exactly like we showed in February. There just may be some different signage more than anything else.
Is it gonna say Combs School District as if it's a district name, or is it just gonna appear as if it's just for CTA?
No, on the top of it, it will have the CTA, Combs Traditional Academy, with the new logo. And then on the bottom, it'll have the Combs logo with Learning Today, Leading Tomorrow. So there'll be identification for both. The CTA portion will be larger than the district portion. But again, we are already having the conversation that the stuff that goes up on that, on the sign, the information we're sharing, is going to be CTA, but it's also going to have a lot of information relative to the district. So even something like football game tonight at the high school, we could put that there. So it'll be a combination of use, not just exclusively to CTA.
Okay. Pat, did you have anything?
No.
All right. So we'll need a motion.
This is Chad. I move to approve the purchase of the new marquee as it's been explained.
This is Bob. I'll second.
All right. Pat?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Mine's an aye, so a motion carries 5-0. 8.8, to refurbish the well at Combs Traditional.
That's the only place in the district that we have a well. It's Rich and Carl would probably know how old, but it's a fairly old well. And so while we're doing all this work, we're going ahead and doing it. Pump Pro LLC was the winning bid. And so we're going to recommend approval. We did put a contingency in place. And the reason for that contingency is the pump itself is the $40,000. But we put in $35,000 contingency because once they pull that pump, they're going to need to go down and see if there's any unforeseen conditions within the well itself and all that area. We don't know that we're going to use that contingency, but we felt that that was a contingency that would at least cover us in case after they pull the well, they discover there's some more work that has to be done to keep that well working. So recommend approval as presented.
So I have a question, Carla. Did we, if I remember correctly, did we not redo the bowls in the well?
Yeah, we redid those bowls. I'm thinking probably 2005, 6, maybe. I know we've replaced them.
Yeah. So we don't need, do you think they're going to need to do that, or are the bowls still going to be okay, or is that something that's going to be contingency?
That's the reason for the contingency is we don't know what they're going to look like. And so we wanted to put enough in to make sure that if we need to do something else like that, we would have some dollars in and we wouldn't have to come back to you guys to get that done.
Greg, if I might, this is Rich.
Yep.
Just want to say that the part of the problem is the bowls that are going bad. I believe that they were originally replaced probably in about 2002 or 3. They were replaced before I came to the district. So, but the bowls are starting to go bad. That is one of the reasons.
Okay. All right. Okay. Do anybody else have any questions?
No. Is it something that we can sell?
Well, that's what, the well?
Yeah.
No, well, yes, you could sell the rights, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
So hi, this is Steve Jones. Can I speak in on that?
Sure.
As we've been going through these energy conservation measures for the state, everything they recommended we not do is get rid of that well due to the increase in water utility costs that are coming up. And they're seeing like 40, 50, 60% increases in water on city water. So they highly recommended that we put the money towards, and we would have put more money towards getting onto city water than we are refurbishing this well and not have the water utility increases that we're going to see everywhere else.
Can we sell the water?
The water?
I mean, I'm curious, what's the maximum we can pull out of that well? Is there a way to,
as in like to ranchers or to like irrigation or what? I don't know what you're.
No, to anybody.
I believe we only have a certain amount of water rights on that.
Just asking. That's fine.
I don't know what they.
I would say Steve.
Another day, Mr. Ray.
But I would say Stephen and Steve and Rich, let's go ahead and at least get some numbers so that we can share it with the board. You never know. It's that creative thinking that could give us a solution. So let's at least look at some numbers, and if it's not feasible, it's not feasible, but it doesn't hurt us to try and get a number.
Agreed 100%.
10-4.
All right. Okay, so with that being said, any other questions? I'll need a motion.
This is Bob. I'd like to move to approve Pro LLC as a selected vendor to refurbish the well at CTA for $75,000.
Second.
This is Steve. I'll second.
All right, roll call. Pat.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
I'm an aye, so motion carries 5-0. So we've got 8.9, a basketball court at the middle school.
This is actually a request that came from some of the kids. I'm a part of the Superintendent Advisory Council, so I meet with a group of kids at both the middle school and the high school. And one of the concerns that came up this year was a concern that because of of supervision issues, at lunchtime, they're not able to go all the way out to the basketball courts to play basketball down on will be the east end of the campus. And they were wishing there was more things to do. So there's a little retention area right next to the outdoor lunch area. And so the question was, can we go ahead and put a basketball court in there? Well, first of all, it wouldn't be a full basketball court. It'd be basically a portion of a basketball court with some backboards and goals. We have to maintain some of the retention there. And so the cost is, some people may say, why is the cost so high? In part, that's because we're going to have to backfill it in and create a stabilized support wall on one side of the basketball court so that you still have some area for the retention piece. That retention is tied into another retention a little bit further to the west in that courtyard area. And so by the time you do all the buildup, that's why the cost came in. But it will give something for the kids to do at lunch. And I know Laura is excited for this opportunity for the kids. And I think it's important for the kids that they came with a viable request, and we were able to take a look at it, and it is something we can do for them. So I think it will be a benefit for the kids and for the school. And so would recommend approval. And this was McCarthy's doing the work, but they did do the bid. And so it wasn't a single bid. It was, I believe, 2 or 3 bidders. And so this is the most responsive bid from McCarthy. And so I would recommend approval as presented.
Okay, questions?
Is there a picture we could see? I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, I think anything that, is it right where we would, I'm trying to envision where that is exactly. So when you walk out the doors where we used to have our board meetings, is that where it's going to be located? Right. When you walk out of the doors, they have that covered area. And then right at the other end of the covered area, there was a depression that was the retention area. So it would be right there so that the supervision issues would not be more taxing for administration. The kids would be able to sit and play. I think there's a sidewalk. You go out of the end of the eating area, there's a little sidewalk, and then it would be in that area. So it's right there, and it gives the kids something to do at lunch while still keeping them contained in the area that administration would like them to be contained in. Okay, I guess, I mean, it'd be nice to see a picture, but in my mind, I can only imagine that looking better than what it looks like now. You would have a bigger concrete pad. Yes, so I wouldn't disagree with you. I will work to get you a drawing of it so we can share it with the board.
But is there still going to be part of that retention? Because I think the retention is there for a reason.
Yes, and that was that's why this came up to what it did. Rich and Arcadis and everybody took a look at it, and that became part of it. There has to be. That's why we couldn't just fill in the whole area. We had to maintain that retention, and it's linked to the other retention further to the west. And so that's why it's not going to be the whole area completely in, and we're going to have to build it up. But that's why.
Okay.
I just have a comment. I know from having put a basketball court in my backyard at my old house in California, I did not consider the angle of the sun. And when my sons and I tried to use it, we were often blinded by the sun. So if you could just take into consideration so that kids don't get blinded when they're trying to play basketball.
We will look into that.
It runs east-west, so we have no problem.
Okay.
There you go. All right. So if no further questions, I need a motion.
I have one more question.
Okay.
I mean, if we're going to put it there, I think that's a great idea. But if there's anything else that could be done, I just remember looking at the retention area thinking, my goodness, if that could be improved, that would be great. So if we're going to do something there, make it look as good as possible. So if we need to, that's all I would say.
Okay, we'll take a look at that.
Add some flowers. Is that what you're saying, Ray?
No, I'm just saying, don't just put a basketball court there and it still looks like it does, just, improve it a little bit.
Kind of like an amphitheater, maybe, kind of like they have at the high school. That would be nice.
We can look at it. I don't think it's going to be big enough. That the space is not huge, but we'll take a look at it. We'll bring back a rendering.
Okay.
Just some shrubbery. I'll make the motion.
All right, go ahead and make it, Chad, then.
Okay. I move to approve and authorize the building of the basketball court at Combs Middle School as presented.
So a second?
This is Steve. I will second.
All right, Bob.
Yes.
Okay, Pat? Did we lose Pat?
Her mic's off.
I had to re-sign on
Oh.
aye.
Okay, and mine is aye, so motion carries 5-0. Now we have 8.10.
Don't forget the nice shrubbery.
What?
Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, 8.10, discussion consideration of approval of the 2021 contract with Educational Services Incorporated.
This is part of the return to week process in the district. For the last number of years, we've used Smart Schools Plus in the district. ESI bought out Smart Schools Plus, and since this is a brand new contract, first time with ESI, rather than having consent agenda, we brought it into the normal agenda. There isn't really anything different than what was going on with Smart Schools Plus. So this is just an annual perfunctory thing we do, and so I would recommend approval as presented.
Okay, any questions on that? Everybody understand that?
Yep.
Okay, then we'll take a motion.
I make a motion, this is Pat, I make a motion to approve the 2021 contract with Educational Services Incorporated.
This is Bob. I second.
All right, Pat, let's see here. Stephen?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Ayes for myself, so motion carries 5-0. All right, 8.11, discussion and consideration of approval for multi-year contract with Footsteps to Brilliance.
This is the third time we brought this back. Our attorney didn't like the last time we did a motion that was standard relative to an approval for 1 year, renewable for 4 remaining year, 4 additional years. When the attorney continued to look at the contract, the contract was not written that way. And so he felt it would be better if we had this motion to approve a multi-year contract for 5 years. That way the motion matches the contract. At the end of the day, it doesn't change anything from what we were doing before, but we just wanted to clean it up and get in a situation where our attorney felt comfortable with this. So I recommend approval with that specific motion, and then we'll just continue with what we're doing, but everything will be cleaned up.
All right. So, questions? Motion?
This is Bob. I move to approve a multi-year contract for 5 years with Footsteps to Brilliance as presented.
As
Second?
Chad, I second.
All right, Pat?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Aye for me. Motion carries 5-0. 8.12, discussion and consideration to authorize expenditures of monies to access of M&O fund for 1920. What? That's
Madam President, members of the board, this is Carla. Basically, the governing board may authorize in a public meeting that expenditures of monies budgeted within the M&O sections of the budget for any subsections within the section of in excess of amounts specified in the budget. So in other words, we don't go over the M&O budget, and I have a budget in regular education, special education, and transportation. If for some reason we were to go over in special ed, let's just using that as an example, the special ed program, it's okay that we can go over that budget in that subsection as long as we don't go over the M&O budget together. It's not been an issue in the past, but I also know that with all that's happened with the COVID-19, expenses could go beyond the budget amounts, but it would not go over the M&O budget. Are there any questions?
So Carla, basically what you're saying, it gives you some flexibility to move monies around.
It gives us, I'm not moving the budget around, but it gives us flexibility that if we overspend in that section, that we can.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so any other questions on that? No? All right, I'll need a motion.
This is Bob. I move that the governing board authorize the expenditure of monies budgeted within the M&O section of the budget for any subsection within the sections in excess of amounts specified for the budget year 2019-2020 as presented.
Whew. I'll need a second.
This is Steve. I will second.
All right, Pat.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Aye is for me, and so motion carries 5-0. 8.11, discussion and consideration to reevaluate the resolution regarding employee pay during a school closure.
Again, we just brought this forward just to make sure it was on the agenda based on request. I don't know if there's any more discussion that needs to take place, but I wanted to make sure we had it on the agenda. And if there's any questions or concerns, I'll be more than happy to answer them. But at this point, I think we're in good shape with what we've done, especially in light of some of the changes to statute earlier in March.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had a question. Do we know what type of impact this is going to have on the budget yet? For next year?
For next year, part of what I shared with you will be this won't have an impact on our budget for next year. For this year, I don't know that the salary issue for staff will impact the budget this year. There's some other areas that may impact the budget, i.e. The amount that we're putting in food services, as an example, to pay for the meals and the loss we have from not having a la carte sales and those kind of things. And so we may see some issues in this year's budget. The CARE Act, which is the federal dollars coming in as part of the stimulus package, will potentially provide a safety net for us to take care of those issues. And those dollars can be used not only this year, but up through September of 21. So they have the potential to take care of budgetary issues next year too. In terms of the overall budget for next year, that's that presentation I shared with you in the special meeting that we look to have. The one thing I would say on that budget is I'm saying it's a conservative budget. Some people may look at it and not think it's conservative, but that would be part of the conversation that we would have on the 27th, where we can talk about why we believe this is a conservative budget and how we might address any issues, kind of similar to what you're asking about with I'll just say COVID-19 in general and the impact on this year's budget and next year's budget.
Okay.
All right. If no other questions, we will need a motion, I guess.
No, that's just a discussion, right? We don't need anything.
Oh, because it says action and discussion. So, all right. So no motion.
Yep.
All right. Information and discussion items. I don't think we have any of those. Requests for future agenda items.
No, I just want to make sure that we are, cognizant of the grading system and the impact that it may have on the future, because that's not something we can foresee. I just think it's very important that we, that's considered.
Right. And just so you know, I will bring you a report in June. We have had a couple dipsticks, so to speak, in to check to see how kids' grades are. We had one 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was talking with Marcus and Bruce today. We took a look at it. We would anticipate that Friday, Monday, we'll have them. At this point, based on everything we're seeing, I'll just say as a general rule, it looks like there will be minimal impact for the majority of kids. Obviously, when you have 4,400 kids, can I sit here and tell you that 4,400 kids, nobody will get hurt in this process? No, I can't tell you that, but I will give you the specifics of the percentage of the A's, B's, C's, D's, and F's, the percentage of kids and the numbers that did not do any work. If necessary, we can go back and look to see compared to other years. I would say our initial look would be that we are within the same ballpark as previous years relative to percentages of the different letter grades. But that will be finalized Monday and Tuesday of next week. And then I'll have a report for you as soon as I can with all the specifics and all the numbers. And we will get down, quite frankly, to the kid level and take a look at individual kids and see not only at what are the grades, but did we see a loss? If your third quarter grade was this, especially at the middle school, high school, it's a little bit different at the elementary. But was there an overall loss in the kid's score, or did they maintain it or raise it? And we'll even get down to that level of detail, and I'll provide you with that report in the next meeting.
So I don't know if I need that necessarily. I just wonder, maybe there's something that can be done, and I don't even know if this is possible, that you know, I mean, for like, I don't even know. So if I know that grade changes can happen. I mean, I've been a teacher long enough that I've had, you know, requests come down for grade changes and things like that. Maybe there's something that can be put into, I don't know, and I don't know if it's possible, some type of provision where if, you know, if a request was needed by a parent or a student to, you know, look at, you know, the impact of COVID-19 and what it had, is there a possibility for, you know, a consideration for a, you know, to look at the grade? So for example, if a student was like on a, you know, they're really close to an A or a B, and, you know, due to the COVID-19, maybe it didn't quite ever get to an A, but, you know, I just wonder if there's something that could be done, or a petition that a parent can fill out where that could be looked at on an individual basis. Because I don't know, I mean, I don't think I need to look at, you know, what impact it had on grades, you know, overall. You know, I think that's too much work, but just if, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but if there was a provision that we could put in that a parent could, you know, say, hey, can we take a look at that? And, you know, because it is an exceptional circumstance, is the way that a parent could say, I think we need to look at this.
Yeah, the two things I would say is we will definitely look at the data ourselves just to make sure that we're comfortable with what's there. Is there the possibility? Yes, but I think we need to be reminded that, again, the teacher has the authority on the grade, and so there's not an automatic unilateral decision that I can make that would say we're going to change a grade this way or that way. We would take a look on an individual basis. If someone brought a concern, we would bring in the particular staff member and see what the situation was, if there was an appeal to a grade. But we'll look at the grades just so we have an idea of where there might be some problems, and then probably more than likely it'll be on a case-by-case basis depending on what the situation is, and we'll take a look at that. But that's why we will go down to the kid level just so we have an idea what's there, and then kind of take it from there. But at the end of the day, a teacher's grade is final, and there's not much anybody can do about that, because that's just the way the legal system's set up. So whatever we do, we have to put that in the same context, and that doesn't matter whether we're talking about grades or another year's retention of kids or whatever. And so we'll keep that in mind.
Yes, I agree, and I know that the grade does become in the teacher, but
right,
I've had those discussions before.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Are we almost can I make a comment before we adjourn?
Yeah, do you have any other requests for future agenda items? I think he fills up our agenda quite nicely, so I don't know if we need to ask him for more. Okay, make your comment before we adjourn.
I was just gonna say, I just wanted to say that since it is May and we're wrapping up this week, like Dr. Wyman said, I just wanted to kind of give a shout out and a thanks to Dr. Wyman for all your hard work, and of course your cabinet and your administrative team and all the teachers. And particularly to the principals here who are once again with us at this meeting. And I have an opportunity to interact with a lot of different schools and school districts, both here in Arizona and New Mexico. And I'll tell you, I have just been nothing but pleased and proud of what Combs District's been doing. I can't believe how many schools and districts in both states have almost just thrown their hands up with this situation, and in my view, almost kind of given up on the whole last part of this school year. And so I just can't say enough and give enough praise to our teachers and to our principals and everybody who's here in the Combs District who actually tried to make sure that the kids continued to have some sort of an education to finish out this year, even though it was weird, even though it was different, even though it was not easy by any means at all. But the effort was just Herculean, and I know for my own kids and what they did, and even though our house was a zoo for the last couple of months, with 5 kids doing schoolwork at home, it was a zoo. But I am so grateful to the teachers. I'm so grateful that our district and that you, Dr. Wyman, were tried really hard to make sure that we were one of those districts that still tried to have something meaningful, that learning was taking place, and I just can't say enough. Thank you, everybody. Job well done from my perspective.
Thank you. That's great. Okay, that being said, I'm going to motion to adjourn. I make a motion to adjourn at 7:22.
Second.
Steve will second. Pat?
I think Pat just got kicked off.
Okay. Well, Bob?
Aye.
All right, aye, and so motion carries 4-0 since Pat's not here. All right, I will see you guys later.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.